Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Welcome to my channel. In case you're new, what I'm doing in the year 2026, each month I'm picking a craft product to kind of focus on for my videos, and for the month of April I'm focusing on stamps. So I've got a bunch of stamps out and some plain paper, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of stamped masterboards. And there are a variety of ways to do them. You can do all just a single layer, one color, stamp it together so that it like covers the whole page kind of thing. You can use multiple colors, you can do multiple layers. What I'm going to do is kind of a multiple layer approach to it, where we stamp background in a lighter color and then foreground stuff maybe in a darker color or in actual colors as opposed to neutrals. We'll see how it goes as it goes along. This one I'm thinking probably I'm going to bring some red and blue into, because I'm planning on the first one at least is going to be geared towards a postage stamp or postal themed journal that I've got planned in my brain. So I've pulled out a ton of stamps to do this. We may not use all of them, but I want to start with this guy. Like I already knew, I'm like, that one's coming out, we're using that stamp. And this stamp set is Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous Deconstructed CMS 489. I will list all of the stamps I use down below in case you're interested in them. I know with Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous, they don't discontinue the stamps. Some other stamps may be discontinued because I'm just going to be pulling stamps from my stash, although right now I've mostly out my Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stamps. And so to start this off, I'm going to put this on a block just because it's going to be easier to handle. I am going to go for a light color because I want this to be in the background. So that's one of the tips for when you're doing a stamped masterboard is whatever stamping you want to be pushed to the background, you want to stamp in a lighter color than your subsequent stamping, because that will bring the subsequent stamping into the foreground and make this more background stamping. So that's what we're going to start with. And I'm going to ink it up with VersaFine Clair in Sand Dune because it's a nice light color. And I am going to start with stamping this going off the page. And that's another tip when you're doing a masterboard, is if you have them going off the page, it just gives a more natural look to the whole thing. So I'm gonna, and in fact, I think I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it again without re-inking, because that will make it even lighter. Ooh, that's very light. It's quite all right, because we're gonna end up cutting this up. So different bits will be on different pages. So I think I may end up doing two stamp themed ones, one in portrait and one in landscape. So and I'm kind of turning it a little each time I stamp it. Let's do that. And then come down here and stamp the rest that was off the page down there. I feel like I kind of want to do another one right in here. And then I want to do another layer in the background. Let me clean this off so that I can put it away instead of doing what I tend to do when I make videos, which is pile up a bunch of dirty stamps off to the side that I have to put away after. And then I end up putting things on and getting ink on stuff I don't want. So let's be a good girl and put this away instead of doing that and frustrating myself later on. I'm thinking I want to grab the next stamp. Why is this not fitting on here now? There we go. I'm gonna grab this alphabet stamp from Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous School Desk CMS 057. And if you're wondering why this is on a white plastic sheet instead of clear, this was one that was manufactured earlier. The newer ones are on the clear plastic and have the image on the back. Presumably, if you order one of these, like the earlier stamp sets in his library of stamps, it will come on the clear plastic. And I'm just gonna kind of stamp this around. And again, I'm not too worried about having the same thing on, you know, too close together, because I know I'm gonna cut this up when it comes time to use it. In fact, we'll probably at the end of this blind cut these up so that you can see what I mean. And I'm gonna overlap, because again, this is meant to be the background for our piece. And I think I'm gonna pull in a script stamp for the background as my last like background stamping bit. And then we'll move to some stuff for the foreground. Let's grabbing the script stamp from Entomology, which is CMS485. Kind of want it even lighter, so I think, I'm wondering, let's test something out here. Let's see what happens if I grab old paper oxide. Let's see what that gets me. And I'm going to stamp it on the back side of this piece of paper so I can just test it as, you know, a color check. I think that gets me what I want, in that I want it even fainter than what I've got going on. So let's do that. I'm just going to kind of do this all over the place. Okay, I think that's what we're gonna do for the background. Now, we're gonna be a little bit more strategic when we stamp with the foreground images. I kind of want to use the Professor CMS 373. And here's one of the things to think about when you are doing a stamp collage. You're going to want to try and start with like your bigger stamps, and then you can fill in around with your smaller stamps. So I am going to start with him because I think he's probably going to be the biggest stamp I'm going to use. I'm going to put him on the block. And I don't know that I want to go as harsh as black. So I think what I'm going to do is grab Fallen Leaves. And I'm just going to stamp him in a few spots. And I have kind of an idea of where-ish cutting this apart will be, so I can kind of take that into consideration when I'm stamping him. I think that's all I'm going to do with him, because I don't want to have a ton of pieces with him as the ending up being like a main feature. So let's stop with that. Although, as I'm thinking about this, I think I want to create a mask of him so that when I come back in, I can stamp some stuff around him without stamping over him. Let me grab... This is masking tape, and so I'm just going to stamp him on here. Should just cut that off so that it's easier to deal with. And then I will fussy cut him out in a minute, and then I can use him to cover up the face and stamp stuff close to it. I think before I do that, I want to do a few more bigger pieces, and then I'm going to move into like postage stamp type stamps and cancellation stamps and stuff like that. I think I've got, this is Darkroom Door Pen and Ink, and it's DDRS227, and I want to do some of the ink bottles, I think, and maybe a pen or two, because it's postage themed, or what you're doing is you're sending letters, so you need to write with something. So let's pull out this ink bottle. And I am going to stick with the VersaFine Clair Fallen Leaves. I feel like it's going to be chopped off somewhere around here, so that will be like the bottom of a tag or journaling card. So I took some time to fussy cut out my mask. Now, when you're doing a mask, you want to make sure you cut it out as close to your image as possible, because if you leave like a bubble cut around it, you're going to have a gap between this image and whatever you're stamping kind of over top. So let me grab Stamp Collector CMS 338. And let's grab one of those guys. And I'm going to grab some red. So we're going to bring in a pop of red. And I'm going to stamp it in red over here. So there we go. He looks like he's in front of it instead of it being in front of him. All right, let's stamp the same guy a couple more times in a few more spots. And then we'll switch, and we'll also switch to blue. I've pulled out two blues. I've got Danube Blue by Memento and Medieval Blue by VersaFine Clair. And I'm just gonna stamp a bunch of these guys on in different spots in different colors. That was a fairly straight edge, I was able to just cover it with the masking tape without having to create a full mask. I'm also going to pull out Darkroom Door Global Postmarks DDRS210. Straight. Why is that not straight? Like, what am I doing when I stamp it that it's making it so very not straight. I think I need to trim more of the rubber around it off so that I can see the shape better when I'm stamping. I'm not mad at the red going over some of the blue spots. Kind of like that idea. I also kind of think I want to pull in Crafty by Tony's got smaller ones. So I think I feel like I need like a third something here and over here on him. So, but I don't want to go small. So let's go with another one of these guys. Let's mix up the shape again and grab the oval. And I'm not too concerned about the postage cancellation stamps being kind of wonky. And while if I was keeping this together, all of this red here together would bug me. Again, cutting it up, don't need to worry about that. Let me grab, I think this one's postcard and this one I think is airmail, and it's got some small guys. It's also got some with the wavy lines. Let's do a few of those. Do like two of the small ones, one in red and one in blue around, and then I think this one will be done. All right, and I think I'm gonna call this guy finished. Let's take that off. So here's what it looks like before we cut it, and I think I'll wait till the end and we'll cut everybody up all at once. Let's do another one, but let's go this way in the orientation, and this is a slightly different color of cardstock. And I am gonna grab, this is a Crafty by Tony stamp, and it's map, and it's CBT0025. And so it is a big honkin' map that I think I'm going to stamp across. Ooh, I got some ink on there, and I actually think, let's test this out. I think I may go old paper because I want this one to be super, super subtle, and I think the sand dune might be too dark. And actually, I'm wondering maybe antique linen. Distress ink. Let's see how it looks, and if we don't like it, we can flip the thing over. I think that's giving me what I want. And this I think I might just do as kind of like an all over background, and then we'll do a second layer of background using the VersaFine Clair sand dune. Basically just created kind of a texture on the background. Okay, so I've grabbed out actually another map type stamp from Documented CMS 226. I'm going to do that in sand dune. Alright, like that. And I'm also grabbing this guy from Documented, and I think for this one I'm not gonna bother putting it on the block so we get it a little less regular. Like that. I feel like I need like a texty type stamp to kind of like tie everybody together. I'm just trying to decide, do I want to use this guy or something else? You know what, I do think I'm going to use this one because it changes the direction. Like this is all going landscape, so let's pull something in that's going to stamp more portrait. And again, this one I'm just going to hold in my hand and stamp it that way. I'm going to turn it sideways just to make it a little bit easier on myself. That's good. Now we need to decide what we're doing for our focal image, and I think I'm gonna grab a typewriter stamp from Curiosity Shop CMS482. Like, I need a mask, and part of me's like, oh, that one's gonna be a pain in the neck to fuzzy cut out. Oh, nuts. And I'm gonna have to grab another piece. Okay, so I've cut out the masks, and I've decided I think we're gonna add some planes on as well, and we're gonna do those in the fallen leaves. That is from Warehouse District CMS 124. Ooh, and I'm looking at that compass. I think I kind of want to do the compass. And then I was thinking I'd do a pointy finger. And I think I'm going to go with the one from Eccentric CMS 448. Because the Curiosity Shop one's bigger, the Warehouse District one is smaller, so let's go for the one in the middle. I think that's good. All right, now we're gonna bring in our color again, and pretty much I'm gonna do the same thing I did last time of stamping everybody around in the reds and the blues and using actually, no, I want to pull in some from Correspondence CMS 225. So I think I want to pull in the plain thing again, and this guy, and then I may be doing some stamps as well. But yeah, we're just gonna go around and stamp in red and blue to add interest to this guy. feel like they need something touching them to kind of connect them up. So we'll just do one more. Like that. And we can always add more stamping after we cut this up or when we go to use it if we feel it needs more. All right, this guy's done. Let me have a clean up, and either I'll come back and we'll cut these up, or I'll come back and do one more that's a different theme, depending on how long this video is. And now for something different. I am pulling out Floristry CMS485, and we're going to use this big old flower stamp. I'm just trying to decide what color I want to do, and trying to decide, do I want to go sand dune or do I want to go with something else? Let's go ahead and go sand dune and see how that works. Yeah, I'm pretty much going for all over coverage with this for the background. All right, next I'm gonna grab the script stamp from Exquisite CMS 453 and do that all over the place. And as with the other script stamps, I think I'm just gonna not bother with a block. And next I am gonna grab Moth Studies CMS 436, and we are just gonna stamp a whole bunch of different moths all over the place for this one. So we're going to keep this one a little bit simpler than the last couple that we've done. I definitely want to go, I'm trying to decide what colors I want to use. All right, I had a bit of a think, and I've pulled out Distress Oxide in Shaded Lilac, Salvaged Patina, Bundled Shade, and Kitsch Flamingo. So we are going to do a bunch of different colored moths. What I may do is stamp the butterfly in all 4 colors across the thing and then switch butterflies. Well, technically moths. Do one more butterfly because I feel like I want one there, here, here, and I don't know where the 4th one's gonna go yet. thinking I want to do like a couple of these little guys sprinkled throughout, and maybe like do pink, purple, blue, green, and just dot them around. Done. And so our next step is to flip it over and cut it apart. So let's do that, and then we can take a look at everything we got, and I'll pull over the other ones and we'll cut those up as well. So I'm going to do a blind cutting, so we don't know exactly what we're getting until it's all cut. Now, I think I'm going to go 6 inches and make the top piece into tags and the bottom piece into journaling cards. So that's 5 inches. Let's cut it in half, which means they'll be 4 1/4 by, yeah, let's do that. Like that, and then we go 3, because this is US letter, it's 8.5 by 11. So we get 3, 3, and 2.5. So we got that guy, and that guy. Kind of like this. All right, let me go grab the other ones. So, shall we do 6 again? And then we can do 3, 3, and 2.5. I'm trying to decide, do we want to just go 4 1/4? Yeah, let's just do that and see what we get. All right, let's see what we got. So we got that one. That's kind of cool. We got that guy, which has our professor on. And then our tags are poor professor got his ear chopped off, but that's okay. For this one, this guy, I'll probably end up putting something down the side to kind of cover up the fact that we've just got like a random ear. That one's kind of cool. So we got those done. Yeah, that one it would have been better if I was looking. I could have done him at 3, because I'm betting 3 would have kept. Yep, 3 would have kept his ear on. Oh well, too late now. All right, this one we did landscape instead of portrait. So I think I'm gonna cut it in half at 4 1/4. And then I'm gonna do 3 inch. No, I think we'll cut these guys at 5 1/2 and just do 4 journaling cards and no tags out of this one. So let's see what we got. We got that one. And that one, and I'm not mad at the typewriter being cut in half. And that one, and that one. I kind of like those. So we got these journaling cards. We got those tags and journaling cards. And then we've got something completely different, where we went butterfly and pastel and got tags and journaling cards. So I say just grab out your stamps, have a bit of a play. The things to keep in mind when doing this is for the stuff you want to stamp in the background, make sure you choose a lighter colored ink than what you're going to have, what you want in the foreground. And when you're stamping, generally it's best to work from larger stamps down to smaller stamps because the smaller stamps can fill in like the gap areas. So, and that way you can make sure you can space out your big stamps where you want them. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.